I got a comment on YouTube from one of our recent videos, and the commenter said, regarding the internal locus of authority, I've tried to explain it in various ways to stage threeers not needing the dots anymore. Because we had this illustration where seeing more clearly is like doing a connect the dots, where you connect the dots and it's a picture. Well, if you can see more clearly, eventually you get to a place where you can see what the picture is without needing the dots anymore. And so a stage three person, they think they need to listen to all the sermons, read all the Bible verses, and do all these things. And you kind of do need that. But the more the dots get filled in, there comes a place where you achieve critical mass, something like that, to where you phase shift over and there comes a crystallization, or a place where the text of Scripture becomes clear, something like that. And it's like when you're doing a connect the dots picture and you can see, oh, this is a flower, this is a dog, this is a house. And then you could draw the rest of it freehand once you know what it is because you can see clearly. But there is a time in the beginning where you definitely need all the dots. And the people who need all the dots cannot understand the people who can see the picture clearly and don't need the dots anymore. So this commenter says, and I can't yet find a way without immediately raising their red flags, whereby they say, well, what's your standard? What's your authority? You don't have one anymore. There's no way to make decisions now. It's just you doing whatever you feel like. No amount of saying things like, well, how exactly does the Spirit lead you, brother? Or Christ is the standard. No amount of saying any of that helps. I'm thinking that this is just reality, but any thoughts? So I have some thoughts, and I responded to this commenter with this, but I'm going to break this up into small or larger font on more slides. So I'm just going to take 4 slides real quick to read through this, and then we'll be done. So my response to this commenter is that the immature mind feels secure when there is some kind of external control factor that establishes clear objective boundaries, especially for the sake of imposing that control onto others. Whether it's Calvin's Geneva, where jewelry was forbidden and church attendance was compulsory, or the independent Baptists who need to make sure that women are dressed a certain way and there are no TVs in the house, and everyone has the same Bible version, or the Karens walking around making sure that everyone's wearing a COVID mask. It's all the exact same impulse to control. We can think of that little bossy first grader that loved to control everyone when the teacher leaves the room for a minute. She leaves Sassy Sally in charge. When people don't mature past this impulse to control, it can manifest itself in something as bad as narcissism, or for the more covert types, religious fundamentalism. What they all have in common is that power is borrowed from elsewhere, either from the teacher, or from the government, or from science, or from God himself. Of course, they have access to that. They cannot conceive of a scenario where 2 different gold medal winning Olympians became the best using different training methodologies, even for the same sport. They cannot grasp that or lift that abstraction into other domains. All they understand is something like PE class in middle school, where everyone is compelled to act uniformly at the direction of some authority figure. So when we talk to people like this, we need to understand the neoteny that they bring to the table, carrying juvenile characteristics into adulthood, and deal with them accordingly, essentially the same way you would deal with a child, since effectively that's what they are. As the child is to the adult, so the adult is to the sage. And Romans 12 says, condescending to men of low estate. It doesn't mean this in a bad way. It means like meet people where they are. We use condescend like it's a bad phrase. It's kind of rude, but that's not how it's used in Romans 12. So, that's effectively what they are. So how do we deal with kids? We let them know that the thing is there, but we don't try to persuade them of it. You say, what do you mean? They just need to see it, the thing, right? No, listen, you'll see what I'm saying. When you start taking karate, You don't start learning black belt stuff on day one, but you do see the black belts. That's the thing. And you are aware of them, and you know implicitly or otherwise that you are essentially striving to become more like that every time you train in karate. With kids, they are aware of the 12th grade and of college and of doctorate degrees. They know that they can strive for these things over time. They are acutely aware of what a path of improvement and growth might look like because they can see other kids in other grades that are past them. But we're not going to try to convince a first grader of the practical use for calculus, nor are we going to try to persuade them of Latin grammar or Shakespearean literature, etc., and so forth. That'll come in time. We expose them to these things so that they know that they're there and they can anticipate them, but we don't try to persuade or teach when they are not yet ready. In the same way, when we're dealing with a neotenous adult, we dial back our goals and our expectations to a lower bar. They are not going to understand an internalized locus of authority, and it makes them feel very insecure and fearful. To them, there's basically no difference between you forging your own path toward spiritual growth and rioters in Milwaukee burning down buildings. They don't see a difference between those two things. They can't see anything but lawlessness and chaos when there isn't some external authority figure from whom they can borrow power in order to control you. Or when they can't perceive that you're being controlled from the outside somehow. So our goal is just to expose them to the fact of it. That's it. Just to the fact of it. They will scoff. They will not understand. They will not be persuaded. They may even insult you or get hostile and antagonistic, which is likely, but the seed is planted. Then later, when they encounter serious tragedy that brings them to the edge of purchase provided by their current perspective, they will remember that there is an option to expand beyond this insurmountable cliff. And that is when they will start to reconsider with more charity what you are trying to show them. In a better world, we would have such qualities on display in genuine elders, much the way kids can see black belts and NASA physicists as something to admire and look up to rather than something to disdain. But we live in a 1984 or Animal Farm type of Christian society. They have essentially codified second grade curriculum as morally correct and have categorized everything beyond the second grade as morally evil. We wouldn't expect a white belt karate student to antagonize the black belt. We would expect some kind of respect or even admiration. But in the modern church, there are no genuine elders. I'm going to say that again. In the modern church, there are no genuine elders. Okay, and the ones that we do have are few and far between. But if you're going to whatever XYZ church, the likelihood that there are any genuine elders there is very, very minimal. All right, they wouldn't be there. In the modern church, there are no genuine elders. The teacher has left the classroom permanently, and Sassy Sally is in charge. See Isaiah 3:12. And anything beyond the grasp of Sassy Sally is evil and wrong. She borrows power from the teacher, but nobody realizes that the teacher isn't coming back. Now, if you want more information on how to deal with people and address people, see our video on Protocol X, see our video on Rule Omega, and see our video from the Colossians series on Colossians chapter 4, verse 6, about grace and salt, wisdom, grace, and salt. Thanks for watching. May the Lord bless you, and good day.